Morning, children. Welcome back. Hope you all are fine. We are studying about the President of India. In the previous class, we studied how the President is elected. In today's class, we will study what are the powers of the President of India. The Indian President possesses enormous powers. He has legislative power, he has executive power, he has military power, he has financial power, he has emergency power and discretionary power. These are the different types of powers that the President of India possesses. Let us examine each in detail. The President possesses executive power. That means all the important appointments of the country are done for and on behalf of the President of India. He appoints the governors of the state. He appoints high commissioners and ambassadors. He appoints army chiefs, and all those important positions are appointed by the President. This is the executive power of the President. We have learned about union territories. The administration of the union territories is done by the President. He possesses diplomatic powers. Diplomatic powers means the powers of the President with regards to his relation with a foreign country. We know the government of India appoints ambassadors and high commissioners, and these ambassadors and high commissioners are appointed by the President. They represent the government of India in those respective countries. Then all the important treaties and agreements are signed for and on behalf of the President. If the government of India wanted to sign a treaty or an agreement with any other country, it is signed for and on behalf of the President. He represents the country in international conferences. So these all are the diplomatic powers of the President. Now we study about the legislative powers of the President. We know when a bill is passed by the Parliament, it will be sent for the President's approval. When he signs on the bill become a law and it is supposed to be followed by the entire nation. Signing on a bill is one of the most important legislative power of the President. He nominates some members to the Parliament. 2 members can be nominated to the Lok Sabha and 12 members are nominated to the Rajya Sabha. This is another important legislative power of the President. He addresses the joint session of the Parliament. When fresh elections are held, the first meeting will be generally addressed by the President. He has the power to dissolve the Lok Sabha. When the Parliament is not in session, the President has the power to issue ordinances. These ordinances will have validity of generally 6 months. Within 6 months, either it has to be approved as introduced as a bill and passed by the Parliament, or it has to be extended. So these all are the important legislative powers of the President. The President possesses military powers too. He is the supreme commander of the armed forces. He appoints the in charges of Air Force, Navy and army. In addition to that, the president himself or herself is the supreme commander of all these three armed forces. The president has the power to declare war and peace on the recommendations of the Council of Ministers. So these are the military powers of the president. Now we see the judicial powers of the president. The president is not answerable to any court in India. He cannot be summoned to any court. No criminal case can be initiated against the president during the tenure of his office. As far as a person is in the office of the president, no criminal case can be initiated against him. Then the president can grant pardon to the culprits. He can suspend, remit, or commute or cancel the punishment which is granted by the Supreme Court or any court martial. We might have heard when the criminals are sentenced for capital punishment or death punishment by the Supreme Court, they have an option of approaching the president for filing the mercy petition. And if the president grants the mercy petition, the capital punishment or the death punishment, death sentence may be cancelled. This is the judicial power of the president. The president possesses certain discretionary powers. Discretionary powers means there are some occasions where the president can use his conscience or his wisdom to take decisions. Those powers are called discretionary powers. There was no reference in the constitution that in such an occasion what the president should do or what he should not do. The constitution leaves the entire responsibility to the president for taking decisions. Those powers are called discretionary powers. They are executed in the following occasions. In the sudden death of the Prime Minister, the President appoints a leader as the Prime Minister, because in such a situation, the ruling party may not have the time to assemble and to choose the new leader as the President. Here, the President uses his discretionary power to appoint a leader from the ruling party as the Prime Minister. Then, if the ruling government loses the confidence of the House and the concerned minister is not ready to accept the verdict of the House and not ready to resign, in such a situation, the President can dismiss the concerned minister. When the ruling party loses its confidence in the House or the majority in the House, it is entirely up to the President what to do next. He can invite another political party to prove their majority or can dissolve the Lok Sabha. If no political party gets majority in the parliament and a hung parliament is going to be formed, here the president has the sole right to appoint a leader or to invite a leader to prove his majority in the parliament. It is entirely up to the discretion of the president to whom he should be invited to prove his majority. So these are the discretionary powers of the president. Now we are going to learn about the emergency powers of the president. The president possesses three types of emergency powers: national emergency, financial emergency, and constitutional emergency. In these three situations, the president exercises his emergency powers. Let us see about the national emergency in detail. If the country is going to be attacked by a neighboring country, or if the security of the country or any part of it may be in great danger by way of a war or a sabotage or an armed rebellion, the president may issue orders for national emergency. Though the president has the power to issue national emergency, without the consent from the Union Cabinet in writing, the president cannot declare national emergency. Here we can say that the president acts as a rubber stamp. He has the power, but he cannot take the decision. The decision is taken by the Union Cabinet, and the president only approves it. The declaration of emergency should be approved by both houses of the parliament, and it cannot be proclaimed for a period not more than 6 months. After the completion of 6 months, it has to be revoked. After the completion of 6 months, it has to be renewed by the parliament through a special majority. If the Lok Sabha disapprove the decision to continue emergency, the president has to revoke the national emergency. During the time of national emergency, all the fundamental rights get suspended. In the previous class, we have seen about fundamental rights. During the time of national emergency, the fundamental rights get suspended. We cannot approach the court if our fundamental rights are violated. During the time of national emergency, the central government gets enormous power. We have a federal system. The power is distributed between the central government and the state government. And during the time of emergency, the central government becomes more powerful than the state government. The second type of emergency is constitutional emergency. When the governor of a state feels that the administrative machineries of the state is not working properly, he may send a report to the president, and based on the report of the governor, the president may declare emergency. See, the constitutional emergency may be imposed only in the concerned states. It may not be implied for the entire country. Generally, the duration of constitutional emergency is a period of 2 months. And when the constitutional emergency is declared, the power of the state legislative assemblies will be taken away by the parliament. The parliament makes law for the concerned states. The third type of emergency is the financial emergency. When the president feels that the financial condition of the country is going to be deteriorated, he may declare financial emergency. The financial emergency is generally valid for a period of 2 months unless it is extended by both houses of the parliament. When the president declares the financial emergency, he may take the necessary steps to bring the deteriorating financial conditions of the country. He may reduce the salaries of the ministers. He may reduce the salaries of the judges of the Supreme Court. He may appoint a financial commission to find out the solutions to improve the waning financial situations in the country. The president may issue instructions to the states with regards to the utilization of funds in a manner that he thinks is apt. The president may even ask the state assemblies to submit the money bills before him for his consideration and approval. So these are the three types of emergencies that the president can declare: financial emergency, constitutional emergency, and general emergency. So far, we learned about the powers of the president. We learned that the president of India has executive power, legislative power, judicial power, military power, and emergency power. I hope these points are clear to you. If you have any doubt, you are free to contact through the school app. It's enough for today. Take care. Bye.